we are here to tell our viewers that anybody from the laborer to the teacher to the driver, anybody who applies his mind to what we have been discussing here and appreciates the concept of little by little and the power of compounding can create wealth and become financially independent. Now we need to know the difference, and I'll try to break it down for the ordinary man on the street to understand it. The difference between simple interest and compound interest. And if we can view that slide number 3, the difference between simple interest and compound interest. Now if you have 100 cedis for investment, and let's say you can get 20% interest per year on this 100 cedis.
It's right there.
Thank you. What it means is that you are getting 20 cedis on your 100. For the layman, if you want to compute 20% on the 100, it's 20 divided by 100 multiplied by 100, and you get 20 cedis. Now in year 2, if you still have the 100 cedis, you would get another 20 cedis on that 100 cedis.
Which was your principal?
On your principal, because you are only getting interest on your principal, which is the 100 cedis. So you see, at the end of year 1, you have 20 cedis interest. At the end of year 2, you have another 20. At the end of year 2, you have a total of 140.
Is this the kind of interest that a bank would give you if you had a simple savings account? You put 100 cedis inside, and then this is the kind of interest.
Well, it's not limited to only a bank, but it can happen anywhere. For me, what is important is people need to understand this, and the fact that if you operate on simple interest, it slows down the speed with which you need to create wealth. So you see, in 2 years you have 140 cedis. Let's look at the compound interest. In the situation of a compound interest, you are still making 20 cedis in year 1. So at the end of year 1, you end up with 120 cedis. But beginning of year 2, you are not investing 100 cedis, unlike the simple interest. You are going to be investing your 20 plus your 100,
which is your principal.
Your principal of 100.
Principal plus interest.
Plus the interest will give you 120. And now you are going to get 20% of 120 and not 100. So you're going to end up with interest of 24 cedis and not the 20 cedis. So in year 2, you're going to end up with 144 cedis instead of the 140 cedis. In this case, can we look at the next slide and we'll throw more light on that? Now, if you are looking at 100 cedis, based on simple interest, let's say that you have 100 cedis from beginning of year. You're getting 20% on this 100 cedis every year. What it means is that in year 1, you are getting 24 cedis. In 5 years, you are going to get 24 cedis multiplied by 5. That will be 120 cedis. In 10 years, you're going to get, very good, in 10 years, you're going to get 20 cedis multiplied by 10 because you are getting 20 cedis every year. So you're going to end up with 240 cedis.
You're getting 24 cedis every year.
24 cedis every year multiplied by the 10 years. In 15 years, 360, and we can go on and on. But I want you to focus on at the end of year 30. At the end of year 30, you would have made, you still have your 100 cedis, which is your principal, but you would have made 24 cedis multiplied by 30 years. That is 720. So you're going to end up with 820 cedis. And if you are watching us, keep 820 cedis in mind.
For the year 30.
For year 30, 820 cedis. But the same 100 cedis, if you had invested in using compound interest, let's look at how it works. Let's go to the next slide. In this case, in year 1, we are still going to get 120 cedis.
It will come.
Yes, but in year 2, in year 5, we are going to get, you know, in year 2, like we did earlier on year 2, we are going to build interest on 120 multiplied by 24% and no longer the 100 cedis. In year 15, total interest alone by year 15 on the 100 cedis is 2,419 cedis, 56 pesos. In 15 years' time. Don't forget, when we use the concept of the simple interest, the total amount we had at the end of the 30 years was 820 cedis. But when we use the compound interest, on the same 100 cedis, in 30 years, the interest alone is 63,000 381 cedis 99 pesos. So when we add that to our principal of 100 cedis, we'll end up with 63,481 cedis 99 pesos. Simple interest, in 30 years time, we are making 820 cedis. Compound interest,
same 30 years time.
Same 30 years time, we are making 63,000 plus.
And I'm seeing something here. So look at year 10. Already at year 10 with compound interest, your principal plus interest is more than 30 years of investing at simple interest.
Kofi, this is so simple that if you understand this and you are even a poor man, you are confident that you'll be wealthy one day because you are putting 100 cedis a year down. You are putting 50 cedis a month. You are doing 20 cedis a month. If you appreciate the power of compound interest, it's an amazing concept. In 30 years, look at what we are looking at.
63,000.
Just on 100 cedis, we are making 63,000. Why? Because within the 30 years, what is going to happen is each year we are not only making interest on our principal, but we are making interest on our principal and we are making interest on our interest. And the subsequent years, we are making interest on our principal and we are making interest on our earlier interest and we are making interest on the new interest. And with more years, we make interest on our principal and we make interest on the interest and we make interest on all the new interest. And the new interest we make interest.
So you're just
and all
back.
The new interest makes interest, whereas our principal is making interest.
Yes.
And the new interest on the principal and the new interest on the old interest makes interest. And interest makes interest on interest makes interest. And we end up with 63,000 cedis interest on 100 cedis in 30 years.
It's just mind-blowing.
And like I keep saying, if you want to be wealthy, I don't want to talk about 2 years. Minimum 5 years. Between 5 years and 30 years, the plumber, the teacher, the driver, the electrician, the teacher, the banker, anybody can be a millionaire.
What you're saying is that if you are 50 or you are 55 and you give yourself 5 years, you can actually make great money by the time you retire.
Definitely. There is nothing like it too late. There is nothing like that. Now, let's move to the next slide, which will even throw some more light on the discussion we are having. Now, when you look at somebody who is investing, initially we're looking at 100 cedis one-off, and then we went to sleep. But now we want to elevate the discussion. So, Joe says that he will do 100 cedis every year. So we are doing 100 cedis. Here we are not even looking at 100 cedis at the beginning of the year. Now we are looking at 100 cedis at the end of every year.
Okay.
So in year one, because we are investing the 100 cedis at the end of year one, we don't make any interest. So at the end of year one, that is when we are putting the money into
December
investment.
31, you put 100 down.
Exactly. So we have 100 cedis.
Okay.
In year 5, we would have invested a total of 500 cedis. But look at what happens. The 500 cedis would have made us interest of 304 cedis. In 10 years, we would have invested a total of 1,000 cedis, 100 cedis every year. But that 100 cedis would have made us interest of about 2,100. In year 20, we would have invested a total of 2,000 cedis. But that 2,000 would have made us interest of 28,000. Now let's shift to year 30. And if you're a student here watching us, you are in secondary school, you are in the university, you don't have any excuse. By the time you are 50 years, you are 60 years, you must be a millionaire. In year 30, total amount invested is 30,000. But interest on the 30,000 is 261,000 Ghana cedis.
You mean total investment 3,000, not even 30,000?
Yes. 3,000, yes. The total investment is 3,000 because it's 1,000 a year multiplied by 30 years. So we're looking at 3,000. 1,000 a year multiplied by 10 years is 10,000. 20 years is 1,000 cedis. 20 years is 2,000. 30 years is 3,000. That 3,000 would have made you interest of 361,000 cedis. So when you add that principal plus the interest, we are looking at 264,000 Ghana cedis.
Amazing.
It's just 3,000 cedis. And I am sure everybody watching this show this morning, including primary school children, can do 100 cedis a year. And in 30 years' time, you're looking at 264,000 cedis. You know the biggest challenge When you talk about 20 years, 25 years, I remember somebody came to my office, we did an analysis, said let's give ourselves 15 years and we're going to make so much money. He said no, 15 years is too far. We were all in this country when President Kofi became the president of Ghana. And we remember it because over several years, it was the first time we were changing the administration or the government in this country. But you know what? We remember that election very well. But Kofi, we are in the 18th year after that election. So if you started putting 100 cedis away during that election, 100 cedis at the end of every year, in 20 years' time, you're looking at 30,000 already.
Just 100.
Just 100. But if you want to elevate the discussion, what about doing 100 cedis every month rather than 100 cedis a year? So let's look at that slide, and we will end on that slide, not to overload our because when people see figures, it confuses them.
And these are good figures.
Yes, these are good figures, definitely. So if you can look at the 100 cedis a month.
So we'll go to the next slide.
Yes. Now we are looking at the 100 cedis a month. But what we are going to do is...
There you are.
Yes, 100 cedis a month. But what we are going to do is we're going to use 24% to build up our... No, we are still using 20% to build up interest. Now, because we are doing 100 cedis every month, we cannot wait for the end of the year to get 1,200 before we invest. That will not be smarter of us. Ideally, what should be happening is when we get 100 cedis at the end of the month, we invest it. We invested. But to make it simple for the layman to understand this discussion, what we are going to do is we are going to assume that we put 100 cedis down, and in 3 months we invested. Because people understand how 91-day treasury bill works.
Exactly.
That, oh, you invest for 91 days and interest comes on it. So we're going to use that same ideology of 91 days. So we're going to put the money away for 3 months. So in actual fact, the computation we are going to look at will be an understatement. Because in real life, you'll be getting interest from month 1.
Yes.
But here we are building interest in 3 months.
Every 3 months.
And in another 3 months, another 300 will sit down before we invest. If we did that in year 1, 300 cedis a month, in year 1 we'd have done a total of 1,200 cedis investment.
Correct.
But that 1,200 cedis investment would have built interest of 112 Ghana cedis. So we'll end up with the principal plus our interest during year 1.
1312.
1312.
Good.
Let's change gear and we go to year 5. In year 5, we would have invested a total of 1,200 multiplied by 5 months,
6,
which is 6,000 cedis.
Yeah.
But that 6,000 would have made us interest of almost close to
the principal.
Exactly. Of a little over 5K. So we'll end up with 11,036 cedis. Let's shift gear and move to year 10. Now in year 10, we would have invested a total of 12,000 cedis. And for the layman watching us, don't forget it's 100 cedis a month multiplied by 12 months.
Yes.
So we're looking at 1,200 a year multiplied by 10 years. We're looking at 12,000 cedis in 10 years. But that 12,000 would have accumulated interest of 34,426 cedis. So the interest in 10 years is almost triple. 3 times the amount we have invested. So we're going to end up with 46,000 cedis, 428 cedis, which is almost 4 times the amount we have invested.
Indeed.
Because 12,000 multiplied by 4, we are looking at 48,000 cedis. But we will end up with 46,000. Let's change the gear and let's look at 20 years. In 20 years, we would have invested a total of 24,000 cedis.
Of course, at 100 a month.
100 a month. 1,200
a year.
12,000 in 10 years. 24,000 in 20 years. But the 24,000 would have accumulated interest of 499,000 Ghana cedis.
The interest alone is almost 500,000.
Yes.
More than 20 times what you've invested.
So if we add the principal to our interest, we'll cross 500,000. And how much are we looking at? 100 cedis a month.
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years. Yeah. And almost everybody watching this show can do 100 cedis, or the majority could do 100 cedis a month. What is the issue? People don't want to look at long term, and that is the mentality we want to change through this program.
And the discipline of not touching the money.
And the discipline of not touching the money. I'll deal with the discipline shortly. If you don't appreciate this, it breeds corruption. Because you want to drive a brand new car next year. Life does not work that way. Life does not work that way.
Let's go to 25 years.
25 years.
It's getting crazy.
We would have invested a total of 30,000 cedis. But that 30,000 would have accumulated interest of 1.6 million Ghana cedis.
Madness.
So we'll end up with almost 1.7 million Ghana cedis in 25 years.
Just 100 cedis a month.
Just so when I sit here and I say that, oh, I have a client who makes interest of 120,000 cedis a month. People don't get it. It didn't happen in 5 years. It didn't happen in 2 years. It happened over a number of years.
Because actually, the 1.6 million interest, if you divide it by 12, the guy is making like 100,000+ a month.
Exactly.
That is the interest alone.
Exactly.
At 100 cedis over 25 years.
Exactly. Now, when we look at the interest, no, but the 1.6, let me correct this. This 1.6 is not interest only in the 25th year.
Yes.
It's the interest accumulated over time.
Yes.
Now, in 30 years, we would have invested a total of 36,000 cedis. But that 36,000 would have accumulated interest of 5.4 million Ghana cedis.
Wow.
5.3 million.
Yeah,
so when we add our principal plus the interest, we're looking at almost 5.4 million Ghana cedis. Now, if we stick to even let's have a flat figure of 5.4 million Ghana cedis. You made an important point, and I want to draw listeners' attention to the point you made, because I think it's important. On 5.4 million Ghana cedis, if we can get 20% interest on the 5.4 million cedis within a year, in the 30th year, the total interest we are making a year is 1,080,000 cedis. on the 5
interest.
Yes, I'm looking at the flat figure of 5.4 million.
Exactly.
When you divide that by 12 months, divided by 12, the interest we are making every month is 90,000 cedis.
That's like 3,000 cedis a day.
So if you are 30 years today and you started investing 100 cedis a month, by 60, if we use the 20% for our analysis this morning, you're going to be walking away with interest of 90,000 cedis a month. Of course, I appreciate the power of inflation.
Of course.
And the fact that in 30 years' time, the purchasing power of a 90,000 cedis will not be the same as the purchasing power of a 90,000 cedis today. The power will be lower. It can buy fewer goods in 30 years' time. But this is still amazing.
It's amount.
5.4 million Ghana cedis in 30 years' time.
And just imagine that you instead of cedis, you were investing just $100 a month. And then it's
these
crazy.
Are good figures.
Yeah, good figures.
But I do a lot of these presentations, and I know people are not comfortable with numbers. So what I have done is to break this discussion into two. Next week, on our next discussion, we'll look at the part 2. And people can see how you can make 1 million cedis in 5 years. In 7 years. Because when you look at this table, look at what I have intentionally done. You would see that we have initial one-time lump sum. It is 0. So we are not putting anything down. We are only doing 100 cedis at the end of every month. So next week we'll look at different scenarios. If you have a lump sum and you are doing a monthly investment, how quickly you can build up wealth. And we'll look at different figures in our discussions. We'll look at if you have a lump sum and you are doing a monthly investment and you are escalating the monthly investment. Because even though we are looking at 100 cedis a month, everybody watching us knows that in 5 years they can do more than 100 cedis a month. Here we are not escalating. Here we are holding the 100 cedis constant in 30 years. And look at the figures we are looking at.
I can't wait till next week.
5.4 million Ghana cedis. Can you imagine if we're escalating this? And we'll escalate next week and people will see the numbers. Viewers, it is not rocket science.
No.
Becoming a millionaire It's so easy that it's unbelievable. It will happen in 2 years. It will not happen in 5 years. Anybody who gives yourself, if you give yourself between 5 years and 30 years, the average Joe can make a fortune, unbelievable fortune.
Before you leave, some people ask, where can I get some of this compound interest? Where can I go and step in and start investing and getting this compound interest?
Of course, Kofi, if you are enjoying our discussion this morning, it is fair to say that you come to me first.
Of course.
I'm the head of financial planning for EcoBank. So come to our office. I'm in the head office, second floor. On the second floor, I do financial planning. So we can actually sit down and do the escalation and look at all the different scenarios for you and customize a portfolio for you. And we hold your hands and we work together until you get to where you need to get to. And we are not charging any money for doing this. So you can come to us and we consult free. And we can do this. You can also get our books to read. Put a message on WhatsApp, on Facebook, and somebody will respond on my Facebook wall, and we will deliver to you wherever you are. In fact, a week from today is a holiday, 2nd July. We are running what is called the Financial Independence Clinic. Kofi, I have committed my life to teaching this, because I think it's one way out of the challenges we have in this country. If we have a lot more becoming millionaires, the barber will have a lot more people coming in and paying good money. So the multiplier effect is amazing. The multiplier effect is amazing. So we want to encourage those who want to take this discussion to another level. On the 2nd of July, we are running what is called a Financial Independence Clinic. It's a clinic, but we are not dealing with malaria. We are dealing with poverty.
Which is even more serious, my brother.
Which is even more serious. So you can go on Facebook and request a ticket. I am going to be the lead facilitator. We are doing a 9 a.m. and a 3 p.m. And we are doing 4 hours. We've done just about 30 minutes or less than 30 minutes this morning. We're doing 4 hours of deep thinking and teaching on how to become financially independent.
Fantastic.
Yes.
It sounds great.
Yes.
It's happening where?
It's happening at the UDS guest house.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So we
9 and
3 in the afternoon.
On the 2nd of July.
Yes, but we are making provision for materials and all that. So we need booking earlier so we can make provision for you. So just get on Facebook and drop a message there. Somebody will respond. And we want to take this message to every corner in this country. Yes.
I thank you so much. So Albert Einstein was right. Was your mind blown away by those figures? Compound interest is indeed the 8th wonder of the world. If you understand it, you earn it. Thank you very much, Paul. Kofi Mante, Head of Financial Planning at EcoBank Securities, Wealth and Asset Management. My name is Kofi Day. Still to come, News Extra one-on-one with Beswa and the twins, the Tego sisters. But ahead of that, another T, traffic check. Welcome to the second traffic check for today, 25th of June, 6 months away from Christmas. Okay, after all those figures, let's give you some traffic now. So this is Tema, T for Tema. And this is the Tema Harbour Roundabout. This is what is happening right now. It's a slight buildup of traffic, but not too serious. From there, we're going to Airport Bypass, and this is what it looks like this morning. It's heavier heading towards Avgo Cargo Village. It's lighter heading towards the airport. And take it easy on the roads out there. That's your traffic check for Airport Bypass. From there, we're taking you to another part of the metropolis for an update of exactly what the situation is. This is Bema Camp area. So it's building towards 37, but it's clearer towards Trade Fair. So safe drive. Keep wearing your seatbelts and doing the right thing. Don't drink and drive. And so that's your Bema Camp. From there, we're taking you to the Ring Road Central. Is heavy building towards Circle, to be expected. That's where all the action is. People are traveling, so they are taking their vehicles from the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, going to work, trading, hawking, trotro activity, a lot of traffic. And that's all for our traffic check. We have a lot more coming up. Stay with us, don't go anywhere.